Hello, it is Sunday 1st of August and I am back in the reading nook with a nice hot cup of tea. Back from UK Games Expo 2021, where I can assure you that everyone was masked up and everyone had these armbands on showing that they would been basically they'd either been vaccinated or they had basically proof of that, or they had proof of a negative lateral flow test, and so with everyone masked and basically tested and vaccinated, it was a fairly safe, it was an event that was as safe as it possibly could be, so a lot of trust and it went really well, and it was great to be out and about at a gaming event. And essentially really basically a trade event this time around, and get to see what was out there, what we hadn't seen in the last 18 months, and perhaps play a bit, catch up with some friends, and pick up some of the things we've not been able to get hold of. So question is, what did I get from UK Games Expo this time around? But quite a lot. Lots of things that I am planning to review over the due course, over the next few months, and I'm going to show you what some of those are now. I've done previous two videos for the board games, not so many of those. For the small press role-playing items, quite a few of those. I'm looking forward to digging into those because there's always some fun ideas and little games associated with small press. So let's have a look. So the first thing I got was the Cthulhu Alphabet. Now I've been after a copy of this. This is from Government Games, but it sort of didn't come into the UK. Was difficult to get hold of, and I love this sort of thing because they, in the past, Government Games have done like a dungeon alphabet, lots of flavour, lots of silly sort of detail, but you know, lots of respect for the concepts that they were basically highlighting with each of the letters. And they do the same with, I'm sure they're going to do the same with this, and so I'll be interested to see what it's like. I'll review this in due course, and it'll be interested to see what it's like, sort of like the other Cthulhu ABCs that have appeared in the past. Now, next is an interactive adventure from Lookout Games called Cantaloupe. What this is, sort of like a follow, like a solo adventure. Essentially you're a crook, and you're basically trying to resolve an issue, and it's a story game in a book format, sort of designed to be sort of like the computer point and click adventure, and it tells a non-linear story of quirky characters, useless items, and tough riddles. Explore the current different locations, collect and combine items, talk to different characters, and find out how the story unfolds. And the interesting thing is that it uses a decoder. Now, if you remember back in the 80s, some of you will, TSR did like 3 adventures that used a decoder, a little piece of red perspex, sort of like plastic, and you laid that over the text, which was essentially covered like a mist or fuzzied up, but you couldn't read it unless you had this decoder. And they've done exactly the same thing, because they did a couple for Dungeons and Dragons, and basically MV series, I think, and then they did one for, I think, for the Indiana Jones role-playing game. So here we go, just to show you just what I mean. There we go, there. And when I was at the press night, they said, "Oh yeah, this is interesting." I was standing there and I said, "Yeah, it's out, pretty can't get hold of it. I'm hoping for a reprint, probably when they do the next book." But a case of, with an event like UK Games Expo, there are lots of traders there, and you basically just ask around. And I found all of the board games I wanted to get, and I found this. Next up, we have the Colonial Marines Operations Manual from Free League for the Alien the role-playing game. This has been hotly anticipated. The US Colonial Marines play such a big role in the Alien universe that everyone wanted the source book for them, and there's lots of stuff in there. I'm sure, I believe there's like an outline basically of a basically there's Marine Mission 6 thrilling missions for your Marines, playable in any order, plus an end game against a deadly enemy. So basically it looks like there's essentially a 7-part mini campaign in there in this, along with all the background. Next, The Haunted Waste, Albert Baratro, the 5th episode in the Chronicle of the Throne of Thorns for Symbolic. Basically, Symbolic is the Swedish Dark Ages style fantasy role-playing game, which I really like. Lots of very atmospheric artwork. Just to show you, and basically this is literally me opening this for the first time, because this is sort of how it happened. I turned up at the event, they saw me, I saw them, and they said, "You're going to want some books, aren't you?" And whilst that's true, I would have asked. Let's have a look. Just okay. So yeah, things like that. Really fantastic artwork, full colour, and these are always fantastic books to look at as well as read. And then we have some books from. Who's next? This is for Leagues of Cthulhu, which is a supplement for Leagues of Adventure from Triple Ace Games. Uses the Ubiquity system, first seen in Hollow Earth Expedition. And this is a guide to Afghanistan, so Cthulhu in Afghanistan during the 1890s. So that's going to be interesting to read. And likewise, the Cthulhu Curacao. Basically, both of these are from Triple Ace Games, very generously donated as per usual. And basically, Triple Ace Games have been supporting my writing for several years now, and again, basically, I can't say little enough. Essentially, for their generosity, it's really appreciated over the years. They do help me with my writing. Then we delve into this bag. What we got in here? Put that open. So, Mutant City Blues. This is the 2nd edition. Gumshoe game of contemporary superpowers from Pelgrane Press, and this is by Robin D. Laws and Gareth Wright Hanrahan. First one was by Robin Laws, and I have reviewed that back in the past, and I really like it. Essentially, it's in a world with superpowers, and you play members of the police, and you police the super villains, big and small, mostly small, because you have superpowers of your own. But they're kind of difficult to use. They're not always the easiest things to use, and the interesting thing is that you can actually work out what somebody's superpowers are, essentially by their use. For example, they use one particular power, and it's a good possibility that genetically that sequence means that they may well also have a similar power. There's a particular sort of grid in here. I'll see whether they've got where you can see it. Well, they did do in the 1st edition. Here we go. No, it's here. Here we go. The Quaid diagram, which shows you how the powers are connected. I mean, you basically see that in any specific detail, but you can see what I mean. So it might well be that you're capable of spontaneous combustion. If you're capable of spontaneous combustion, then you're likely to have fire immunity and fire projection, but the possibility is that you might be trance susceptible, and that's more likely if you have fire control. So it works a bit like that. So you can, as members of the police, you can work out sort of what powers the villains you're facing have, and adjust accordingly. Next is Book of the Underworld, which is essentially the Underworld supplement for the Dragon Empire for 13th Age. 13th Age is a Dungeons & Dragons style game that it basically a crossover between 3rd edition and 4th edition, with a narrative focus, which is a lot of fun to play. And the Dragon Empire is the setting, and this looks at the Underworld underneath. It's a fairly slim book, but I'm sure there's full of lots of detail. There usually is. Again, this is by Gareth Ryder Handran, and he's always a reliable writer. Next up, the Book of Demons, what I'm sure will go with the Underground book. So essentially, demons, the Archmage banishes them, the Crusader conquers them, the Great Goldworm defies them, the Diabolist summons them. When the world cracks open and the demons attack, what will you do? This looks at the abyssal enemies of 13th Age, demonic hordes, and it adds the demonologist class with 3 paths that can be mixed together as an initiate or followed exclusively as a fanatic: the path of corruption, path of flame, and path of slaughter. Oh boy, that's going to appeal to some players. 6 detailed hellholes and their denizens, plus advice on making your own and more. So that's the Book of Demons. They did have, I think, the Silver Tower or something like that, a title there which I wanted to look at, but that's sold out. But that's no problem. And penultimately, Knights Black Agents. Solo-ops for basically 1 player, 1 GM against vampires. So, Knights Black Agents is essentially, you can sort of do it, is an basically espionage role-playing game in which you're fighting against the conspiracy of vampires. So instead of sort of like, you're up against Spectre, or if you're actually playing the James Bond role-playing game Tarot, as the enemy organisation, you're up against sort of like crime gangs and banks and so on, similar sort of things in a conspiracy, what they call a conspiramid organisation, like a pyramidal conspiracy, at the top of which is vampires of a nature to be which is essentially set up prior to the basically the scenario or the campaign and so on. And then you play spies against them, and it might be like a James Bond or game, or the Bourne Identity, or it might be a bit like Smiley's People. Knights Black Agents Solo Ops takes that and lets you do one-on-one play. So yeah, basically come out of the rules for Cthulhu Confidential, which do one-on-one play for Trail of Cthulhu. And then last but not least is Slayer Industries 2nd edition, with the inimitable Mr. Slayer on the front, from Nightfall Games. Been looking forward to looking at this for a very long time. Set in the World of Progress. Basically, it is a game of corporate horror in a very dark future, and there's a lot to it. Surprisingly slim on size, but I think I looked at the Cannibal Sector 1 write-up that was done 2 or 3 years ago, something like that, and I really liked it. It was very, very well done, and I said so, and I gave it a great review. It's one of the best books of that year. It opened up the possibilities of play in one region and the way of playing Slayer Industries, and at the same time added so much flavour, so much background, that you essentially, if you're a fan of Slayer Industries, you had been waiting decades to get information that good. And I'm sure the new Slayer Industries is going to be just the same. So that's everything. And yes, altogether it gives me a lot to write about and a lot to read over the next few months, but that's fine, that's what I do. I stock up at conventions. Now there were 2 or 3 publishers who weren't there this weekend, and I wasn't able to get books from them. That's fine. Hopefully I will see them at Dragon Meet, and essentially grab some books to review then. But that's just how the situation is because of COVID-19, and not a complaint by any means. I want to make that absolutely clear. So there were plenty of publishers at UK Games Expo. So if you're looking for a new role-playing game, role-playing content, basically for a game you had already got, you could definitely find it, and it was all there. whatever it is that you were looking for. Again, I do want to thank all of those publishers, essentially Triple X Games, Nightfall Games, Pelgrane Press, and so on, who have provided me with review copies. Thank you very much. I appreciate you supporting me, supporting my writing, and you will get your reviews in due course. I have a lot to write about, but every single one of these titles will get my attention over the coming few months. Anyway, so this is the third and final debagging. Sorry, debagging. That was a joke. When it's a joke this afternoon when we came up with this. Okay, the fact that I could do a debagging, but that would be for the OnlyFans version of this, and it's not going to happen. So this is the third and final unbagging in the Nook, and I am leaving this in because I know you'll enjoy it. Enjoy the joke. It's there for your benefit. Because otherwise I would just have to do this whole thing again, and I want to go and sit down. In the meantime, if you have enjoyed this unbagging in the Nook, I will be doing proper unboxings in the weeks to come. First of those will appear tomorrow. Okay, 9 o'clock every day for the next 6 weeks. I have videos queued up of interesting things I have got in, unboxed, talked about for 10 minutes. So please do subscribe. And you'll be alerted to me sat here with a package containing a book or game, and me talking about it for 10 minutes, and of course with a nice hot cup of tea. So yeah, basically just start off your morning with me out here looking at a game and talking about it, just generally about as knowledgeably as I can, given that I might not have seen it before, for 10 minutes. Again, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this unbagging in the Nook, please do hit the like button, and please do subscribe. Okay, bye for now.